And welcome. I recently found a new resin that I'm really loving, and it is this Bond Craftor epoxy resin. It's a 1-to-1 resin, but the viscosity on this is very thick. It does take about 24 hours to cure and a full cure within 72 hours, but it definitely degasses very well, which is normally a pretty difficult thing in resin. So even, if you let it sit off to the side and naturally degas and you pour, you get a lot of new bubbles introduced, and I'm not finding that as much when I'm using this, which is great. And you can buy it in different sizes. The thing I like about this size is that it does come with this pump. Now I use the pump if I'm doing small projects. If I'm doing a big pour, I'll pull that off and pour directly out. But it does help with me not having to put everything into these smaller bottles like I was doing before. So I do like that aspect. The kit also comes with like gloves and cups and stirring sticks and things. So it's a great kit to get. But today I will be using this Bond Craftor resin on a project. I have this mold from Molds and Shapes, and it's a platter with a raised design here. And what my plan is today is I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's been tried before. I probably should have, but I didn't go look to see if there are videos on this or not. But I want to use silicone oil in my resin. I'm only going to use it in two of the colors, and then the other one I will not. I want to see if I can create cells like you can with using silicone oil and acrylic paint. Just want to experiment to see what exactly happens if I do that in resin. And another thing I'm doing different today is I'm going to be using purple. I don't use purple very much, and these are eye candy pigments. I just put them in these containers because I don't like the draw bags that you get, the little plastic bags. It goes everywhere every time I open it. So I just put them in these little containers. So I have those two purples, and then I have this blue. And those are the colors that I will be using with the silicone oil and with the Bond Craftor resin. So this platter takes about 550 mils of resin. So this cup here, and so that's about a little over 18 ounces of resin. So it does take quite a bit of resin. And I'm going to mix that up, and I will be back. Now I'm just starting to stir my resin, and I just wanted to show you what I meant about the viscosity. Look at how thick that is. Typically I would not pull my stick out, but I just wanted to show you how thick it is. Okay, my resin's now mixed, and look at how clear that is. And again, how thick. Very thick. So I'm going to let that sit off to the side and just continue naturally degassing. And I'm going to show you another little tip, trick, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to move this over and show you another reason why having that pump helps. So I'm using part A only, and what I'm going to do is put some of my mica into a cup. And then I'm going to use the pump to put a little bit of just part A into the cup, and then stir that around. And what I'm doing is making like on the fly type resin paste. It just helps to make sure that when you actually put the resin in, that your color incorporates and you don't have any loose flakes or stuff floating to the top. So it definitely helps out a lot. And typically I would make paste ahead of time, but these are colors I don't use all the time. And you don't have to do it like this. If you're using resin paste, you could just grab that and use it. But if you have mica, which is a lot less expensive than you know, resin paste, then you could just do this quickly yourself. It only takes less than a minute. All right, and then I'll do that for each of the colors. All right, now that I have my pigments ready, I'll move this. And put this back. Now, the first thing I want to do on this is I'm gonna just pour some of the clear resin directly onto the mold. What I'm doing is just coating the bottom, and I'll tell you how much I've used once I pull this back up. So I used about 200 mLs on the bottom of just clear. Now I'm just going to tilt that and move that resin around, just make sure it gets on the entire surface. And then I'm just going to use a bamboo skewer and go around the edges very lightly, just to pull up any bubbles that might be there. And also go along that design as well, because the bubbles love to catch on there for some reason. I don't know if it's because it's a different texture or what, but they definitely like to congregate there. All right, and then I'm going to very lightly torch. All right, now that the clear is down, I'm going to use resin to, I'm going to pigment the resin with my pigments I made. All right, there's my blue. All right, and here's one of my purples. And now is when I'm going to introduce the silicone oil. Now the silicone oil I have is in a dropper, like an eyedropper. And so I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. And then I'm going to make sure I stir that very, very well, to make sure the silicone gets throughout the entire cup of resin. And on the second purple, I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 drops of the silicone oil in both of the purples. And mix it very, very well. Okay, now that my colors are all mixed, I'm going to start pouring on top of the clear resin I put down first. Actually, I like the spider look that it's doing, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some to the blue too. Why not? Some of the silicone oil, that is. All right, I put the same 5 drops in with the blue. Alright, now that I've put my colored resin in, I'm going to take my spatula I used to stir, and I'm going to push it down to the bottom of the mold, and I'm going to drag it. And I'm going to do the same over here. on this side, I'm going to go the opposite way. And now I'm going to take my clear and I'm going to go down the middle. Okay. And I'm going to swipe again now that I've added the clear. Now all I'm doing is using only on the surface. I'm not going all the way down to the bottom, and I'm just moving the resin into like a wave pattern. And that is all I'm going to do. So I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours and I'll come back once it's cured to demold and see what we have. Okay, I'm back. This is not 100% fully cured yet, but I was actually thinking about it last night, and I want to make this into like a dish or a bowl. Not a full bowl. I basically want to take each of these sides here and curl them in. So this is still malleable, it's soft, but cured enough that I can take it out of the mold. So I am going to demold, and then I'm going to use this painter's tape, and I'm using the wide one. And I'm going to use that just to shape the bowl or the platter into the bowl that I'm seeking. So I'll get started by just demolding. Oh wow. Look at that. That is incredible. I love it. Now there are ways that you can do this using just resin and different combinations of pigment, but if you want the simplest way to get this effect, a little bit of silicone oil goes a very long way. All right, I'll stop drooling over that effect and move on. So all I'm going to do is get some of my masking tape or painter's tape, and I'm going to put it on the back side here, and then I'm going to use my hands to kind of pull up the side here. Pull that around and then use my hand over here to get this side up. And then I'm just going to use the force of the tape, and I'm going to go around 1.5 times. I've had this break on me before in the past doing it like this, so at least that'll keep it in place. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same down here. Just give it a little, I'm not trying to bend it in half or anything like that, I'm just trying to give it a little bit of shape. Wow, every time I go around that one corner, it keeps breaking. I don't know why. So let's try going at it this way. Alright, that should hold. And then I'll just pull the end here in a little. Now all I'm trying to do is mirror the sides so that they look a little more natural. And then I'm pressing flat in the middle to make sure it's not fully curved. I don't want it to roll around. I want it to be able to sit flat. And it's not sitting as flat as I want, so I'm going to use this heavy bottle of acrylic sealer, and I'm just going to wrap it in this microfiber towel and slide it in there if I can. That'll give it a little bit of weight to help with it sitting flat. All right, and now I will leave this for the other 12 or so hours it needs to finish curing, and I will be back once it is set enough that I can pull the tape off. I'm back, and the platter turned bowl that I made, it was finally fully cured. It was about 40 hours after I had finished pouring that I actually was able to remove the tape, and it's not bending or anything, so that's great. But there is one last step that I need to do with this, and that is to bring out the design. And because I've shaped this and it's not flat, I'm going to use this liquid chrome marker to fill in that design. But I do want to show you the detail of using that silicone oil. I think it's incredible. I'm really loving the way that this effect happens. And you can get different effects if you use less color, more color, and things like that. You could also try the number of drops of silicone oil, increasing, decreasing. I would not increase a lot. You could run a very high risk that your resin won't cure. With the drops that I used, I got a great effect, and it still cured, the resin did. So I might experiment, and if I find anything different, I will be sure to let you all know. But all I'm going to do now is just fill in the design with this liquid chrome marker, and then I am finished. Okay, here is a look at the final product with the design, with the silver on the design. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and press the bell to be alerted to future videos.